is always like my favorite part of being at LAX. Like one of the only good things is like seeing all of the workers like take apart and put it right back together, like depending on which airline it is. And it's honestly like quite amusing. Oh, let's make sure my bags don't get stolen.
Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm in Australia. Yeah. Insert voiceover me because I am such a stressful, like fast-paced traveler. I don't know how people travel gracefully, especially on their own. I'm like running around like a crazy maniac the whole time. So instead of just staring at random clips put together by montage music, I wanted to, you know, chat a bit. So if you kept up with me over on Instagram or TikTok, you would have heard this whole saga, but basically I was waiting in LAX and there was nowhere to get coffee in the international terminal because the one coffee shop was closed, and I didn't want to have to like lug my luggage to another terminal because if you are familiar with LAX at all, it is a mess of a place in every regard, and the transportation, especially to get between terminals, is pretty horrendous. So anyway, I found online that they did this like LAX terminal delivery, and I've always heard everyone talk about Earth Cafe, kind of as a meme, but I was like, let's try it. Ended up being an $11 latte with the delivery fee, and not the best coffee. Would not recommend, but you know, thanks for the memories. I decided to bring this folder to pack all my important documents that I needed to get on my international flight to check in, like travel declarations, vaccine card, COVID results, proof of my visa, and I was between this folder and another one, but I felt like I just had to go with this one. By the time my flight was boarding for Sydney from LA, it was almost 8 p.m. PST, so like almost 11 p.m. EST, and I left my house in New Jersey at like 6 a.m. that morning, so I was pretty dead. The second I got on the plane, I passed the F out. I felt really bad because I missed like all of the meals, like the dinner, and then they even gave me a random sandwich while I was sleeping. But I felt bad because I requested a vegan meal, so I made sure it was dairy-free, and I didn't even touch it, and I felt really bad. But by the time I was a bit more alive, it was like really nice, like 4:30ish Sydney time, and we were scheduled to land around 6ish Sydney time. They gave a hot breakfast, and it was like actually really nice, and it hit the spot. Yeah, then I saw that Qantas international flights used a French press to pour coffee. Had a mini freak out sesh about that, and the coffee was actually pretty good. And then I decided that I needed to start reviewing airline coffee, and then yeah. Quite funny, I like whipped out a magazine while I was killing time, and they had a whole article in New York. I was like, awesome, just came from there. Saw a cute seal, I was like absolute goals. And then pretty much like as one does, the last like hour or so of the flight, I was just like counting down the minutes. I was like, this flight has been going on for so long. Surprisingly, it was supposed to be closer to 16 hours, but the flight ended up being just about 14, so not too bad. Once we landed safely, I was so grateful. I was also very stressed, very stressed, because I had to collect my bags right after this flight that landed around 6:15, 6:20 a.m. Sydney time, go through customs, go through biosecurity, switch terminals, and catch a domestic flight boarding at 7:40. And even the people at Qantas were like, I don't know if we're gonna make this flight. And staring at this board about just the time dwindling down and it being like 7:20 and I'm still in line for security. But I managed to grab some coffee.
Anyone who says that they can travel gracefully is lying. I am dying. Oh my gosh, I'm in Sydney. Oh, here's my gate. Okay, is there a coffee shop? There's a Krispy Kreme. There's a Krispy Kreme. And I thought I was getting away from America. Flight to Melbourne boards in like 5 minutes, but I got my first Australian flat white. I'm like dying. I don't even know if we're boarding yet. I don't really know what's going on.
With 2 minutes to spare, got to bring it on the plane, and it was just like a moment of just pure glory. I made it through border perfectly fine. My bags made it. I was just super grateful. and the flight to Sydney to Melbourne was a breeze, and it ended up working out really nice because there was free Wi-Fi on the flight. Unfortunately, Qantas domestic coffee is like your traditional airline coffee, and that was like a real bummer. So Qantas International, like a plus job, because I've never been on a flight where they tried that hard with their coffee. But I guess, like, you know, being the airline of Australia, I feel like you have a record to uphold. So I guess that makes sense. Flight to Melbourne was only about an hour. It was not bad. I originally didn't even have to go to both of those two main cities. I originally had a direct flight to Melbourne, but then that got canceled, so then I was put on a flight to Sydney, and then Sydney to Melbourne, and I was like, whatever at this point. And then that got canceled, if you saw the one video, and then I got booked on the next day. Honestly, still shocked I made that flight. I was like, either me or my bags or both are not making it. But made it to Melbourne. I, of course, had to grab some coffee. I saw that this one random cafe in the airport was serving St. Ollie, which was when I visited Melbourne for like a couple hours, you know, oh my god, 3 years ago at this point, which is crazy. The best flat white I ever had St. Ollie coffee, so I was quite pumped. Like the moment of glory when you see your luggage come down the belt when you really didn't think it was gonna make the flight. Yeah, that was quite monumental. Boarding my final flight to Hobart was pretty chaotic. I mean, I guess to even back up a little bit, the free Wi-Fi on the domestic flight from Sydney to Melbourne, I was Melbourne. Australians say Melbourne, so I'm just gonna say that, but anyway, I'm American, I'm so sorry. The free Wi-Fi on the flight really saved my butt because I originally had my flight to Hobart, Tasmania, leaving Melbourne around 3:40 p.m. and I was scheduled to get into Melbourne just after 9. But originally I didn't want to book a flight super close because I didn't know if things were going to get delayed, and considering I almost missed my previous flight, I'm happy that I didn't. But then it worked out because everything was on time, and the way I book things, there was no change fee with just the way that I booked it, and shockingly, like, I didn't have to pay any extra cost for literally changing my flight to a flight that was leaving like not even 2 hours from then. So I ended up getting on the 11:40 a.m. flight to Hobart, and it was just quite chaotic. Everyone was like making their own lines to like line up to queue. I want to sound, you know, on brand here, to get on the plane, and it was quite confusing because the sign said gate closed, and so everyone was freaking the F out, but in reality we didn't actually board. Of course there was a screaming baby on the plane, but you know what, it was barely an hour long flight. Listened to some pop punk emo music. Me and my luggage made it to effing Tasmania, praise the Lord. It also worked out that I was on the earlier flight, that the bus to downtown from the airport was more frequent, so went on that bus, and it was just like really nostalgic from my first time when I visited Tasmania 3 years ago now, or just over 3 years ago. Go over the massive bridge, and I made it safely to Tasmania. I am in Australia. Thanks for joining this voiceover.